What's up, guys? Today I want to give a couple of tips about acquiring information pre-flop. All right, so this has to do with when the cards are dealt, and a lot of us have heard this trick, but I have a slight spin on it. Okay, I'm going to go over this because it's fundamentally very powerful, but if you've heard it, don't worry, like we're going to go over the more advanced stuff after this. When you're dealt your cards, it's very advantageous to not look at your cards yet, because when you're looking at your cards, you're focusing on yourself, your hand, you're not paying attention to what's happening at the table. At the same time you're getting your cards, people are getting their cards, and they're looking at their cards. So you'll see this old guy kind of looking, and he's just like, and then he like does this. That might mean something, and then you'll see somebody else go. What kind of hand can somebody have if it takes them half a second to look and they go, and they get real excited, but they're not putting on a show, right? You know that might be a strong hand there. Sometimes people will be like, they're looking around and they're like, and they just call. If you're having to think about your hand, genuinely think about your hand for a while and stuff, then it must not be that good. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that, I'm talking about just authentic players. So what you want to do is you want to catch on to all this information. There's so much free information that's happening when the cards are being dealt. So don't look at your cards, like, just pay attention to others. Now, I do sometimes see players getting a little carried away with this. What they do is they take it way too serious, and they're like, they're staring people down. And it just gets a little bit awkward, right? Like, you don't want to make it so obvious that you're staring them down. Sometimes I'll even just like, I won't even like look at my hands, but I'll just kind of be looking around, and I'm paying attention to their energy when they're looking at their hands. Especially like if you're in late position and you want to be looking at the big blind, because sometimes they'll get their cards and they'll look at it real quick, and you get to see their hand. You get to see what they did, like looking at their hand. But then you want to kind of like also look at other early positions, because if they raise, you always got to be careful for early position raises. So you're kind of like trying to pay attention to all this at the same time. So what I'm doing is I like to do a spin of, instead of waiting to look at my hand, because whenever it does this, but now when you look at your hand, you basically waited till your turn, and now you're looking at your hand, and everybody gets to see you look at your hand. So unless you're really good at concealing that, what I like to do is, like, when the cards are dealt to me, like let's say I get my first card, I'm like looking, is anybody about to look at the card? If not, if I have a free half second, what I'll do is I'll quickly look at my first card, and then I'll keep looking and keep watching. Because what I do is I look at my card, and you got to remember it. You should never look at your card twice. Then you're just paying attention, and then they give you the second card, and then you're like looking around, and you look at your second card. Now I know both my cards, but at the whole time I was like watching the table, and I'm not really giving away what I have, because I'm just quickly like in the middle, just in a free moment, I look at my hand and my card like that. And then I usually like to put my chip on the cards. So doing this, you can get so much information, and there's good players out there where they're good at concealing it. Like they'll look at their hand the same length every time, whether that's aces or with pocket aces, or whether it's deuce 7 offsuit. They'll kind of look at it, and then they'll put their chip on their cards, and then they think about it, and then they'll make their move. They're really consistent, and that's very powerful. That's hard to read players like that, but a lot of players, the majority of players, are not doing this. They're actually just giving away free information, and you should take advantage of that all day long. So what you want to do is use those tells to get your information. And furthermore, when your post-flop play, after the flop comes out and the turn comes out, and you see the player kind of looking at their hand, and they're looking at the board, they're thinking about things, you combine the fact that they're looking at their hand with what they did pre-flop, and then you can make good decisions based on that. Also, by the way, really try to remember your hand, even the suits. I know it's hard. I know that we get distracted, and sometimes we're card dead and it's boring, but try to remember your suit, and you can even look at your hand for a little longer to memorize your hand, and then try not to look at your hand again. Now, of course, if you're not sure if you have the ace of diamonds or the ace of hearts, and there's 4 diamonds on the board, you should try to like look again, but try not to give away information. When they look at you, look at your hand. Try not to give away the information while you're looking at your hand. So sometimes you have to re-look at your hand, and it is important. Like if you're not quite sure what you have, knowing what's in your hand is more important than not even looking at your hand and remembering your cards. So try to remember your cards and try not to re-look at your hand again, and that way you can focus on what's happening at the table. It's always so important to get all the free information out there that's available. This is the information that makes you the money, not this. Your cards is not what makes you the money. You knowing what's out there is what makes you the money. All right, hope that helps. Good luck out there. Peace out.